The Digital Photography Cafe show is brought to you by Focus Pyramid, the autofocus lens calibration tool for your camera.
Welcome to the Digital Photography Cafe show. Join hosts Trevor Current and Joseph Christina as they serve up the hottest photography news and commentary.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. This is episode 165. I'm Joseph Christina here with my co-host Trevor Current. On last week's show, we covered Apple's announcement of the iPhone 6, 6 Plus, and the brand new Apple Watch. If you haven't watched last week's show, I encourage you to do so. You can find it at digitalphotographycafe.com and our YouTube channel, youtube.com/dphotocafe. Listen with the popular Stitcher, TuneIn, and Xbox Music apps, or subscribe through iTunes or RSS.
Hey Joe, how you doing, man?
Really good, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, I hear your weather's starting to cool down. I'm still here at like 90, 100 degrees. I don't know, humidity, rain. Ugh, brutal.
Yeah, it's been pretty cool. We've had those 48-degree mornings past couple days. This morning it was like 51. It's fall's rolling in here in the Northeast for sure.
Yeah.
The leaves are starting to turn, and we're not even the end of September yet.
God, I hate you.
It's kind of awful.
I really hate
Yeah,
you.
but you know what? It really shortened our pool season this year, too.
Well, that's true.
I'm closing the pool down now, and we had like a whopping 2 months to swim. You know, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, you did have a weird summer this year. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyways, we got a lot of stuff to cover this week. There's been a lot of announcements. You got Photokina on the other side of the world. You have a lot of different things going on. So we kind of need to jump right into it, right?
Yeah, a lot of big things coming out of Photokina, a lot of announcements and stuff. So, ProCam 2, that's an iOS 8 app, and they have just come out with a new version that takes control of the manual controls in the new iOS 8 for your camera and stuff. So that's pretty cool. Yeah,
it's very cool, and I've used ProCam in the past, and it really works out great, guys. It's the ability to be able to take your iPhone and then adjust every setting, spot focus and then lock that, and then spot metering and then lock that, and exposure compensation and shutter speed and white balance and locking the white balance and saturation and on and on and on. Being able to do this and actually lock each individual setting is it's amazing. It's really amazing instead of it constantly hunting. So it's really cool. I'm actually using it right now to make this recording. I'm recording how I normally do, but I'm also recording with the iPhone with the ProCam just to test it out, and we'll see how it turns out. I might end up using the iPhone footage instead of our normal, just to try. So we'll see how it goes. But if you guys. If you haven't seen it, ProCam ended up coming out for free, and now ProCam 2 is out, and it's like $1.99. It's probably the best $1.99 you'll ever spend when it comes to taking pictures. Now, all that functionality not only works in photo mode, but it also works in video mode, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I'm sure everybody with the iPhone has tried shooting pictures before and tried compensating for exposure and everything. Right. And I was just outside the other day trying to shoot some fall foliage in September. Right. And it was really hunting to try and get a decent exposure. You know, you had to kind of spot around the screen quite a bit in order to find just the right spot for it to adjust its exposure. So I really like the idea of, having this manual control. Yeah. And using this app to do it is really cool. I like it.
Yeah, it works out good. Well, once you get the pictures, what do you do with them, right? We put them into iPhoto, we bring them to Lightroom or whatnot. A lot of people are using Aperture. Some people are now moving from iPhoto over into Photos with the brand new, the new OS. And in so doing, we looked into the migration process, and it looks pretty easy. It's almost like a single button click to migrate from iPhoto over to Photos. But there is some functionality that you're going to lose, right?
Yeah. So the way iPhoto worked is going to be different than the way the new Photos app works.
Right.
So any of the image adjustments you've made in iPhoto will go over to Photos,
right,
but you won't be able to modify those adjustments that you've made.
Right.
So you can either add to them through the new Photos app using those tools, but you can't modify what you've already applied.
Exactly. And there's some other features like if you made a book, let's say, and some people have done that, made books on their iPad, let's say, any of the text, any of the layout, any of that stuff that you did will also be lost.
Right.
Tags and captions will also be lost. You won't be able to see them. They'll still be there and you can use them as search criteria, but you won't be able to see them on the photo. But the bottom line here is, guys, they changed the database. They completely, it's a rewrite, and they're doing things differently, and that's why you cannot make these modifications or changes. So just understand, once you change over to Photos, there is going to be some limitation, but of course you have to do it no matter what, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if you wanna be able to bring your photos in and go back and have full control over those adjustments, again, you can import the photos without the adjustments. You can import the original and then just do it over again. Exactly. I would think that for the most part, there's only going to be a few select photos that you may really want to be able to go back in and edit again. Yeah. For the most part, just bring them over and kind of start fresh.
Yeah.
That's what my thought would be.
Yeah, absolutely. So another package that we saw, another program which was interesting, was a Lightroom plugin that we found. And we, absolutely love Lightroom. It's the best thing since sliced bread probably for photographers these days. It makes things so much simpler and quicker. So, but there's this plugin, and it's free, which is always nice. Yeah. And what it does is it allows you to see exactly where your camera locked focus. So for example, if you're just center weighted and you're just constantly center weighting, locking focus dead center, it doesn't matter. You're going to see the red dot in the middle of the image. But if you're shooting and letting it do the autofocus for you, what will happen is it'll bring up all of the squares onto the screen, and then it'll make one of the squares red. And that's the exact place that it locked focus, which is kind of cool, right?
Yeah, that is kind of cool. I mean, is this a necessary plugin? No, but it's kind of cool, and it all goes back to, getting your focus right. Yeah, we've obviously talked in the past, on numerous occasions about, correcting autofocus and realizing that where you're focusing your camera may not actually be, what's happening. So this is kind of another way of just showing you where the focus took place. And if you were focusing on the eyes in a portrait and the dot is over the tip of the nose, and you see that, slight blur, or you see the dot over the ear or something like that, then that your focus is jacked.
Yeah, so you can actually hone in, kind of cue into where it picked up focus, and then zoom in there and say, well, was this in focus, or was something behind this in focus, or something in front of it? Right. Because it thinks that red dot is where it should be focusing. So yeah, you'll know if your camera with that specific lens is front focusing or back focusing. And if it is, you can pick up like a focus pyramid or some other type of lens calibration tool and get your focus right, because getting it right in the camera at the time of capture is imperative. You don't want to try to fix this stuff later, because it never works. It's just,
you're always just faking it.
Yeah, kind of hunting around, it just doesn't end up working. Right. So we got some rumor news that came out about Canon. And they have this new Pro monster body, as we call it, 46 megapixels that is slated to be coming out. They're saying that it should be announced at NYC's Photo Plus Expo in October. So if it happens or it doesn't happen, it's kind of interesting, because 46 megapixels is a monster. And
that blows Canon away, or Nikon away at their 36 megapixels.
Yeah.
So.
And, this is what we always say. Canon and Nikon are two legs on one body. One takes a step forward, then the next one takes a step forward. The next one and the next one. If one of them fell, I don't know what they would do. It would be hopping around aimlessly, probably. Yeah. They would never go forward, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we'll see. I mean, the rumored price range would be like $8,000 to $9,000. So save your pennies. Yeah. And we'll see. Photo Plus Expo in New York is October 30th to November 1st this year. So it's real late this year. Yeah. We went last year. This year, we're kind of saving our pennies for a potential trip to Las Vegas in the springtime. I may still go into Photo Plus for a day. I'm not sure which day. It really is going to depend on the workload and all. But Joe's not coming up this year for it. So, you know, we're going to kind of play that by ear. I know a couple people that we met with last year kind of messaged us to see if we're going to be going. So I am going to plan on going, but I'm just not sure when.
Right. It's a great show, and it's I'm not going necessarily because it's not a good show, because we've gone every year forever. But it is just saving pennies and being able to go into Vegas and be able to hit a couple of shows over there and do something just a little bit different. And it's kind of exciting. I'm kind of excited about being able to hit up Vegas in spring. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep you abreast. And if, like you're saying, if Trevor ends up going into the city and you want to meet up with one of us, with him, then by all means, please do go have a beer and say hello. Right?
Yeah, exactly. We'll keep you more informed as to what my plans are and stuff as the month goes on in October, and then maybe we'll tweet something out or what have you. So watch a Twitter feed, watch a Facebook page, and maybe we can hook up.
Exactly. All right, guys. So we have just a ton of more cameras and all kinds of announcements. But before we get to them, let's go ahead and hear from one of our sponsors.
Are you frustrated with slightly out of focus images when you know your autofocus spot was dead on? It's simply not your fault. From manufacturer to manufacturer, and even lens copy to lens copy, there are slight variances to the exact spot where light is being focused onto the sensor. Finally, there's a product that allows you to compensate for those variances and make sharper images immediately. Focus Pyramid, the autofocus lens calibration tool, is an absolute must for every photographer. If you want to make the sharpest images possible, then you need to take control over your camera's focusing system. With the Focus Pyramid, you can calibrate all of your lenses on your lunch break. The Focus Pyramid makes lens calibration quick and easy at an affordable price. So give your lenses a new lease on life and take your photography to the next level. Head over to focuspyramid.com/DPC and get an additional 10% off just for being a show listener.
So we're back, and to continue with the camera announcements, Panasonic has a new one. It's the Lumix GM5, which just came out, and that is a micro four thirds camera. It is more of a subcompact camera, but it is interchangeable lens, which is pretty cool. It's not really a replacement for anything in the line. It is an addition to their line, which is nice. This is kind of spun off the GM1. It's kind of that size format, but just new capabilities, new features.
Yeah, a little bit. They just kind of upped the features up. Made them a little bit better here, there, and elsewhere. So they added a hot shoe, which is kind of cool. I like it. If you need something that you can stick into your pocket, Panasonic, just they do it. They do it right. They do a good job with the micro.
They do a good job.
And like you said, it is a addition to, not a replacement of, the GM1. So, and that's good. They made that perfectly clear that they weren't replacing the GM1. So if you have a GM1, you're pretty much good. This is just going to add a couple of new features. Right. It's probably one of those crossover breeds where in the next 2-3 months they'll come out with the GM6, let's say, and then that will actually be a replacement or something. So, but all in all, you're looking at about $900, which isn't cheap, but it is good. Lumix makes a very good. It's a good camera.
Yeah, and that comes with a 12 to 35 millimeter lens, so you are getting a lens with it at least. It's not like that's a body only for $900.
The only thing I don't like is the meandering f-stop. So you're at it's 3.5 to 5.6, guys. So it's not shooting really quick. You're not going to get a 2.8 or lower on it, which that kind of bothers me. But it kind of is what it is.
Get a different lens. Exactly. I mean, it'd be good if you could get it just body only and then buy a better lens.
Yeah, I don't know if they do that. I've not seen it that way.
I haven't either.
But I don't think so. But anyways, moving on. Nikon D750 officially announced. Looks nice, 24 megapixels. They're not doing the megapixel game where it's like, oh, we're 26. No, we're 28. We're 32. No, they're keeping it solid, 24 megapixels, which is it's a solid sweet spot for a full frame camera. I mean,
full frame, yep. And then this falls right in line between the D610 and the D810.
Right.
So it kind of combines the features of both. Some of the lower model features are brought into this camera, and some of the upper model features are also brought into this camera.
Yeah, and as wedding photographers, portrait photographers, event photographers, we know if you're on the Nikon side, D600, D800, we're staples. They're equivalent to a 5D or 5D Mark II. These are the cameras that we used for capturing events, for capturing weddings for years and years and years. So it's nice. It's nice to see a new iteration of that, I suppose. So the D750, it's doing, what is it, like 100 to 12,800, and it's expandable up to 51,000 as far as ISO, which is in line. It's shooting at 6.5 frames per second, which, I mean, it's quick enough. This is definitely, like I said, it is an event camera. You're not going to be motoring through images to go and shoot sports photography. It's just, it's not made for that. 51 points of autofocus, 15 cross type, which is really kind of low to me. I don't know. It's a small amount, but it is what it is. So it does HD video, which is to be expected, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but it's got the full manual controls, which is really nice in these cameras now. So you can control your aperture, shutter speed, ISO, all that good stuff. So that's really good. They also added a 3.2-inch tilting LCD, which is something that's nice. This is the first tilting,
Finally.
very angle screen on a full-frame Nikon.
Yeah, finally. We've been asking for this forever. I mean, as let's say an event shooter, a wedding shooter, to be able to put your camera on a stick and raise it up over a bride and groom dancing, let's say at like 8 feet over their heads, and have that articulating screen, pointing down, and you're actually knowing that you're getting good shots. That's just awesome. Just awesome. Thank God. I mean, that means that, once again, one step, second step, Nikon step, Canon step. That means Canon people, we're going to get articulating LCDs very soon. Nikon did it.
Yeah,
so.
hopefully in the full frame bodies.
Exactly. So built-in Wi-Fi. I like that.
Yeah, I do too. And then with the Nikon, with the free Nikon, wireless utility app, you can actually use your phone or tablet to view images or control the camera. So that kind of, you raise it up. You can even use your iPhone or something to view what you're shooting at.
Yeah, and they're using high-speed SD cards instead of CF cards in this, and they're using two. So it's two side by side. I like that a lot. Canon's done it for a long time with the Pro bodies, and they would do two CF cards side by side on the 1D. So it's really cool because you can use it as extending the number of shots you can take, or as redundancy. I like it as redundancy, and have two cards that are identical, and then one card goes with your assistant and one card goes with you, and no matter what happens, you're going to have those pictures because it's in two different locations. So it's just a smart thing to do. I like that, and I like that a lot. 100% view finder coverage, that is kind of the norm now. 95, 99, now this was 100, which is great. I do like that it does simultaneous HDMI out. That is a big thing for me. I like that, being able to see what's going on, especially if you're shooting video. That's
sure.
cool.
I mean, just for viewing it, but also for even recording on an external device. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So it does time-lapse built in, which is cool, and slated for September, which is now 2014. So it should be you should be able to see it on the shelf. 2,300 people. 2,300. That's for the body only.
2,300.
So I'm going to guess with the kit. I don't have specs. I don't think we got any specs on with kit, but you're looking at probably at least $3 grand, 3,100 maybe, with a good lens.
Price to be announced. They're saying that the kit will give you a 24 to 120 millimeter f4.
Right, VR,
which is probably a decent lens. At least it's an f4. It's not, a variable. But we don't know how much it's going to be. They didn't announce a price yet.
Yeah. I'm going to say I'm going to guess you guys are going to pay probably about $3K, $31.99. That's my guess. There you go. We'll see. So, anyways, moving on. Canon 7D. I've had a 7D for a long time, since day one, but it's about 5 years old now. We've had multiple. We use them for video, also for photos. It's a really strong camera. It does really, really well for an APS-C based camera. Really nice. Now they finally put out the new one. They called it the Mark II. We were on the fence. What are they going to do with the 7D? Are they going to call it a Mark II? Or are they going to call it something else? And they did. They kept it with the 7D and they just changed it to a Mark II. So that's nice. It's finally the 5-year-old camera's kind of out.
Finally here. Yeah, this has been rumored for quite some time, and finally announced. And this is, if you look at the specs on it, I mean, this is what the blogs and stuff are saying. It's really geared more towards the action sports photographer and the video enthusiast, let's say.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
they're using the same dual pixel AF autofocus as they do in the 70D. So this is what many of the companies do. They'll put in the lower models things that they're testing out, and then they allow the consumer to beta test for them. Right. And they liked it, and it worked out good. So now that feature out of the 70D is going into the 7D Mark II. So that's kind of cool. 65 points autofocus, cross type, which is good. If you guys don't know the difference, cross type or just linear type. Cross type, you just get a tighter autofocus because you're focusing on dual plane. You're focusing at, just as the name states, it's in a cross in comparison to just one linear line. So very cool. Burst mode up to 10 frames per second, Digic 6 processor, and 20 megapixels. So they're in line. I mean, that's nothing crazy, nothing out of the ordinary. But
and they upped the megapixels from the previous 18, so
to 20.
They kind of increased that a little bit, which is good. Keep it in line with today's cameras. I mean, that was 5-year-old technology.
Yeah,
so.
The standout parts that I really appreciate is, for example, how many times can you actually activate that shutter? A lot of times you'll see there'll be like 100,000. Some will be 150. They've actually, with the 7D Mark II, they went up to 200K. So 200,000 activations before you have to go and replace that shutter. That's really good. So
that's a good rating, yeah.
Yeah, when you do events, you're banging through 1,000, 2,000 photos sometimes, and that number goes very, very quickly. I do about 1.5 million photos per year, when it's really busy as far as the events. So sometimes we would be sending the cameras in for new shutters every year, every other year. So this is kind of nice. I like that. They added in GPS. What is that? Right?
Yeah, GPS is there. They got an intervalometer again for shooting time lapse, like in the Nikon, which is good. Higher capacity battery. That's always good. No 4K video though.
Hey, what happened, Canon?
Yeah. I mean, I'm really kind of surprised. I mean, the trend has certainly been going towards 4K, but we see, I mean, with the big boys, with Canon and Nikon, they're less of a risk taker, let's say. Yes. They don't want to explore new technology until everybody else has done it. Again, we've kind of joked about this, but it's kind of like the Apple thing, right? Apple always puts out what appears to be new technology, but in reality, it's a couple years old. But what the idea behind it is that it's refined technology. Right. So I guess we could say maybe Canon and Nikon want to refine the technology before they introduce it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you're going to get full frame HD anyway.
See, guys, Trevor is much nicer than I am. Right?
Yeah, I'm always the PC guy.
Damn, definitely a PC. So anyways, no built-in Wi-Fi. Why?
Yeah, no, they add an intervalometer.
Yeah, you can say it better than I can.
But no Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, Wi-Fi should just be in everything now. There's no reason not to. I mean, little just tiny point and shoots have them in it. It's microscopic. It can't cost them more than $5. It's got to be so cheap. They should have put that in there, because now if you want to use Wi-Fi for doing whatever, you have to pay. It's like you shouldn't.
And that is why they didn't add it in.
Well,
because now you have to buy the adapter so you can get Wi-Fi. And if it's something you really want, you'll pay the money, and Canon makes a couple extra bucks.
Yeah, I guess so. So anyways, November, people, 1,800 for the body. So it's in line. This is to be expected. That's a normal number. And then they'll throw it in with a kit lens. Once again, it's the meandering f-stop. It's a 3.5 to 5.6, 18 to 135 IS. It does have the image stabilization, so it is pretty decent class. 21.
This is an EFS lens, though. It's not a full.
That's right.
EF lens.
That's right. Lens. Exactly, because this is a crop sensor camera, so that's why they give you that. And it's 2150. So you're looking at 1800 without the lens, 2150 with. I would say that I would probably pay the $350 because that lens, even though it does have that meandering f-stop that I don't like, if you are not a pro or if you're just kind of in between, it's definitely a good lens for $300 for sure.
Yeah, sure, sure. I don't know. You know what, though? I'm not as excited about this camera. No. You know, the Nikon actually sounds a little bit better for me. Yeah. It's more money, of course. I mean, it's a more expensive full-frame body. But I would be more excited about that than the 7D Mark II. But that said, I mean, the next camera on our list, the Samsung NX1, actually sounds really exciting.
Yeah, so I've been a Canon shooter for a long time. I shoot everything. It doesn't matter if it's a Hasselblad. It just depends on what the project is. But I've been in the Canon market forever. I just have tons of Canon glass. I love Canon. But yeah, I looked at the Samsung, like you said, and looked at the specs. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? So the Samsung NX1, let me tell you, this thing is coming up with an APS-C sensor, but it's at 28 megapixels. Yep. Okay, so they added an extra 8 megapixels over the 7D Mark II, right? Which is interesting that they did that, because normally we're trying to keep it along a certain range for noise problems, right? That's normally what happens.
You know, what's the quality of those pixels? That's
exactly,
what we always ask. Right?
Exactly. And I don't think that Samsung would have done it if they couldn't do it. So I think they could. I have a feeling that they could. Yep. It fires at, get this, guys, 15 frames per second. Okay, not 10. 15 frames per second.
Yeah, Canon's boasting 10 frames per second on the 7D Mark II, like it's, you know, the greatest thing for sports shooters, and this is doing 15 frames.
15 frames per second. It's doing 4K video, as it should, which Canon decided to leave out. Right, it's doing 4K video.
Cutting the edge here.
Cutting the edge, right? Then they went ahead and added a clean HDMI out while shooting that 4K, right? Yeah. Which is really good. That is really, really big boys. I mean, you don't even need to save it to the card. You can just go ahead and force feed that straight lossless HDMI signal out to an external recorder, and you're done. You end up with 4K out of that camera all day long. Just amazing, right? It's doing the same 100 to 51K as far as ISO, right? And then check this out. As far as autofocus, it does 209 contrast points, 205 phase detection points, autofocus points, and of which there's 153 cross type. Now, let me review back here. Canon, the 7D Mark II has 65 cross type. This has 153 cross type. Now, you know, is more better? Well, actually, it kind of is. Because for years, 5D, like a 5D, just our standard 5D had like 9 points of autofocus or something. You know, 12, 15, just ridiculous. 153 is ridiculous. It's nuts. But that goes to show you, this, remember now, is a mirrorless camera now. It does not have a shutter. So it not only has phase and contrast and having 153 cross types, I mean, I think that the autofocus on this should be pretty good. I'm hoping. We don't know.
In the fact that there is no mirror to move out of the way, that's probably why they can get the 15 frames per second as opposed to 10 frames. I mean, okay, is 10 frames impressive? Sure. I mean, considering that mirror has to go up and down 10 times in a second or what have you. I mean, you know, that's pretty good. But this definitely sounds good. And this is where the technology is moving to, these mirrorless cameras. You know, and now they've got the electronic viewfinder.
Yep.
So you're not just stuck looking at the back of an LCD. I'm still not sold on that. You know, all these cameras that are coming out without viewfinders, you know, anybody that's used an LCD only camera outside in the bright sun knows how difficult it is to take a shot and to get your focus, to get your exposure. I mean, how can you expose when you can't even see the damn screen?
Yeah, I agree. Putting your eye up to a viewfinder, that's just how it works. That's just how cameras
even if it's electronic, it's better than
I don't even care. Yeah, but now listen to this though. The electronic viewfinder that they're using is 2.25 million dots. OLED, right? Electronic viewfinder. But the important here is that what's important is it's 5 milliseconds of lag. So if you think about it, your monitor that you're looking at right now on or you're looking on your computer usually are anywhere from 5 milliseconds to 7 milliseconds. Once you start going to 10, 12, 15, you can start seeing a little bit of a flickering, right? At 5 milliseconds, your brain does not pick up that flicker. So what that means, when you look through this viewfinder, this OLED will look just like if you're looking straight through glass. So very impressive. I like that a lot. That is really, you know, people might not pick up on that millisecond lag, but that I think is more important than the dots that they have in the actual viewfinder itself.
Yeah, and I think when you're shooting stills, it's less important, let's say, because you're kind of positioning the camera anyway. You've got a little bit of time before you're hitting the shutter. But when you're doing video, you want to see what's happening in real time. And with
you don't want
lag. I mean, I think you're right on there.
Yeah, so the body itself is magnesium alloy, just like the 7D Mark II, and it is weather sealed. And all the lenses that come out for it are going to be weather sealed also. So when I look at this, and I look at the specs, now obviously we haven't tested it out. We really are just going by specs. It is night and day to what Canon has produced to a very similar APS-C style camera. One is mirrorless, one is not, but the actual functionality, if it actually works as it's stated, it is going to surpass it. But what's even more important, the body is $1,500 and not $1,800. It's cheaper for 4K video and for everything else that you're getting here. You know, higher, you know, the ISO is the same. You're getting video, you're getting a higher rate of FPS, frames per second. You're getting 28 megapixels instead of 20, you know, on and on and on. So I'm really eager to see how this thing, you know, I want to see what the pictures look like, and I want to see what the video looks like. If Samsung can really, I guess, put out as they state that they will be able to with this camera. I'm interested.
Right. Yeah, I am too. I mean, the proof is in the pudding, of course.
Yeah,
You've got to see what it does. You know, I mean, obviously, if you're a Canon or a Nikon shooter and you've got a ton of glass already, a camera like this may not help you, unless you really want to make the big switch. You know, so of course you're going to want to stay within those camps, most likely. Somebody just starting out, though, you know, this might be a good way to go.
Yeah, it might actually be that first mirrorless camera that a pro would pick up on. It could be. Yeah, and say, I'm going to use this for video. I'm also going to use it for doing sports photography and bursting out 15 frames per second. So we'll see. You know, we'll definitely keep you posted on this one, guys, because it looks interesting. But anyways, before we get out of here, we need to kind of, on a somber note, I guess. I hate to leave on a somber note, but you know, I've been a computer user since I was probably about 12 or so, and my first computer was an Apple II Plus. So I have the very first Apples, green screen with floppy drives, you know, running 300 baud modems, you know, this type of thing. And so it kind of dates me a little bit, but you know, I was you know, writing assembly code, and you know, I was really heavily into it. And back then, what was the magazine of choice? You know, what were we looking at? Of course, it was the main one, Macworld, right? So after all of these years have gone by now, what is it, like 30 years or something?
30 years.
30 years.
1984.
1984. They're closing shop, people. They're closing shop. That is sad. These are sad days. Macworld's going to be gone.
Yeah, the print version of the magazine is going to be gone. The online version will continue, of course, as you know, all the other magazines that have closed down the print edition. You know, the problem is they cut the staff. I mean, all of these great writers that we've been reading over the years are now gone. You know, Jason Snell, he's the lead editor for more than a decade. He's out of there. He went and actually he started his own site called sixcolors.com. And he'll actually be continuing to cover Mac news and tech industry news and stuff. So, you know, you can always go over there. But, you know, that's really what happened. You know, I was listening to Mac Break this week with Leo Laporte,
Right.
and he had mentioned about this as well. You know what it is? It's all of the tech blogs and all of the tech websites now that are covering all of this stuff instantly.
Yeah.
You know, people don't want to wait a month for their tech news. I mean, the Apple announcement last week with the iPhones and the Apple Watch and stuff like that, people don't want to wait a month to get the news. They want it the same day, within hours of the release of it. So these websites really are just kind of putting the print editions out.
Yeah, it's just force feeding information. Back to the idea of the information overload. We want it now. Actually, we want it yesterday. We want it yesterday. And yeah, we cannot wait for a magazine to come out. But it's nice to hold a magazine, smell that print, look at the beautiful pictures, look at the artwork, look at the work that the craftsmanship that goes into that. I mean, that's how I started. I started out doing magazine layout covers, you know, back in the day. And there's just something to be said about that. And, you know, while we're talking about this, we have running on the screen. If you're listening, you might want to watch the video this week. We have running the behind the scenes of the making of one of the magazine covers, one of Macworld, and it was the magazine cover for the edition that the front cover was the iPhone 3GS, and they show the actual making of it and how they actually shot the image and then the layout process and all of the whole back end of doing it. And it's just interesting, and it just they just cut staff, and people just they don't want it anymore. They'll take it if they can get it now or if they can get it yesterday, but they don't want to take it if they have to get it a month later.
You know, and this does, you know, just as a quick aside, looking at that photo shoot video, you know, you see the painstaking, you know, efforts that went into it to get the lighting just right and to get the reflector cards just right. You know, because you're going out with a national magazine cover. I mean, this image needs to look perfect. It needs to look beautiful. Well, now what? Now what happens with this photography? What happens to that photographer who is shooting all of these covers for these great images? You know, even if they're just product shots, even if they're not lifestyle shots, even if they're not portraits with models, you know, they're requiring
Trevor,
less of this now.
Yeah,
online.
Trevor, we're getting to that good enough era, the good enough era, the good enough stage where, you know, now if this article or whatnot on the iPhone 3GS came out and it was for the internet, well, it's 72 DPI or 72 PPI, big deal. We can shoot it with an iPhone. We'll shoot the iPhone with an iPhone. We'll just light it well. I mean, it's ridiculous, but this is really how it's gone, because now it doesn't need to be printed, you know.
So you don't need the resolution. You don't need the same type of quality that you needed for print.
Yeah. So anyways, sad times.
Sad time.
It kind of it is what it is, but that's the way it's going. Print is slowly going the way of the dinosaur.
That's right. All right, Joe, we are done. We are out of here. If people want to connect with you outside of the show, what is the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, and that's at Joseph Christina, and that's Christina without an H.
Great. And you can connect with me on Twitter. It's at Trevor Curran.
So, all right, guys, we are out of here for yet another week. You can get all the show notes from this episode by visiting digitalphotographycafe.com/165. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/dphotocafe. And we will see you next week.
You've been watching the Digital Photography Cafe show with Trevor Curran and Joseph Christina. Subscribe to our YouTube channel with any compatible device by visiting youtube.com/dphotocafe. Be sure to subscribe to our audio feed through iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Xbox Music apps, or through RSS. Visit digitalphotographycafe.com for show notes and to connect with your host.